Liberous Oshoma, who joins me live from our Abuja studio. Mr. Oshoma, thank you for joining us again on Beyond the Headlines. Very interesting development we're following here. As mentioned, we had conflicting rulings and Oyo State High Court allowing the convention, ordering INEC to monitor, versus a federal High Court restraining INEC because of Lamido's exclusion. How do such conflicting court orders happen, and which is likely to prevail in practice?
Yeah, Nifemi, thank you, and thank you to our viewers. And it is sad that once again, the PDP, a party that was formed sometimes in August 1998, with various associations and organizations, political parties coming together, sheathed their sword, and decided to come together to pursue an agenda for a better Nigeria. We're represented by about 34 members. You have the Bamanga Tukos, the Tony Aneni, even including the Sule Lamido that you mentioned, late Sunday Awoni, Solomon La and Co., Alex Ekweme, coming together to bet what is today known as PDP. But unfortunately, typical of Nigerian politicians, we find out that their exit from power had consistently, created problems for them. Thanks to also the flip-flop and the ping-pong rulings that we had seen. It's almost, somebody described it as acquired rulings from the judiciary, but I wouldn't want to use such words. We saw this in 2015, immediately after their exit from office. It was as if the PDP never prepared for life outside office, where you had Abuja High Court and the same week, Port Harcourt High Court. Today, Abuja will give judgment in favor of the Modu Sharif faction, and then tomorrow, another court will give judgment in favor of the McAfee-led faction until the McAfee-led faction prevail at the Supreme Court. And today, if you remember, was it Shegu Adeniyi, former spokesperson of the president of Nigeria, Shehu Musa Yar'Adua, Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, did in his book made mention of the 1992 presidential election, where governors were in Abuja. The moment Justice Ikpeme gave that order, other governors were calling. Remember then you had governors who were already sworn in, and then you had a military rule at IBB. And so all of those governors were calling their state chief judges to also give counter orders, calling the attorney generals to go file motion. So what the picture he was trying to paint then was that some of these orders can be procured. So in the same vein, today we see 4 cases altogether. You had 3 FCT, and then the Oyo State, where the convention was to hold. I would have been shocked if a high court in Oyo would not give a judgment. And typical, that one came last. It came on Friday, and then the convention held on Saturday. So you would say, when the equities are equal. Here, what you have is that when judgments are given, you say the last in time. Unlike when the equities are equal, you say the first in time. So you would say the last judgment gave them the go-ahead. Whether, considering the status of the other 3 ruling by the same court of coordinate jurisdiction, whether this action will be sustained beyond this is another different ballgame, which I wouldn't want to go into. If you remember also, this was the challenge that the APC had in Rivers State in 2015 or 2019, when a court did ask them not to conduct, primaries until congresses were concluded, and people who had applied to buy forms were allowed to purchase forms. At the end of the day, the court held that failure to allow them to purchase, forms was excluding them from the process, and that also led to the nullification of everything that had been done at those convention and primaries.
Yeah.
So also, lastly on this, there's this back and forth argument. A lot of people had argued that the Supreme Court had consistently held that the court should not interfere in parties' internal mechanism. No, the court had consistently held that the Supreme Court had held that the courts cannot impose, cannot appoint leaders for political parties. But in places where the constitution of the party spells out the steps, preemptive steps that should be taken before certain actions are conducted, the court had, not shied away in rising to the occasion to interpret, such steps and nullify, decisions taken when such steps are not, taken. Those preemptive steps are not taken. So in this case, I would say that the judgment in the ruling on Friday allowed the PDP convention. And so far, you can say that judgment subsisted. The convention is legal until, other judgments of the courts other decisions of the court would come up. Let's see what the Court of Appeal will say and all of that, and then eventually the Supreme Court. But I hate to say,
yes,
this might be the beginning of the end of PDP.
I've